All right, I'll call the meeting back to order after recess. And we have 4 public hearing items on the agenda this evening. Dave, it's over to you.
Good evening, everybody. I have 3 applications that will be from planning. The first 2 are pretty much connected. They're associated with each other. So the second one's a special exception that deals with this ordinance amendment. So our first application for the night is Ordinance Amendment 2023-04. It's initiated by Socek and Everline, PC, on behalf of WC Land Company, LLC. The request is for the purpose of amending Article 7, Section 7-3. That would be 7-3.34 if approved, low-density rural district of the Middlesex County zoning ordinance. And this request is to add boat, RV, and camper storage yards as a special exception use. Of course, we know what the purpose of the application is, to amend the ordinance to add this particular component. I'm going to remind the board, several years ago, we had an application to amend the ordinance to add this particular use in the Village Community District. And with that application, we amended the ordinance to add the definition of a boat and RV storage yard. We've had several, I'm just going to kind of go off cue here a little bit. The board and the commission has had some conversations about storage yards and our storage facilities, be it self-storage and those type of things, or any type of, if you could maybe preserve some of our general business, some of our village community, our more valuable properties, and have a use that's fairly static and doesn't really bother anybody, would it not be okay to introduce this into the low-density rural district? So we've had this discussion even before this application came before us. And it's been staff's general feeling, and the Planning Commission pretty much concurred. Some of our longtime members agreed with this as well, is that this could be a good use in low-density rural, provided you have the proper screening and you can make it blend in with the more rural character. So this amendment tends to come right into play with some of the things we've discussed previously. Anyway, I'm not going to go through all of this. I know we have a busy agenda tonight, but basically the application was fairly complete. Staff had some comments on the setbacks. We discussed the setbacks with the ordinance committee, introduced those setbacks into the application, got concurrence from the applicant, whereas we could work, the setbacks were conditional on the use that was next to it and that type of thing. We worked that out, and the Planning Commission pretty agreed with those setbacks requirements. So this is how it would look in the ordinance if it's added. You would just be adding this one use as the last, it is a special exception use. So these are the conditions that we placed on this particular application, other than the ones that were germane to any special exception and the ones that are specific to low-density rural. The first one is the use, along with any associated security fencing, shall maintain setbacks established in the district regulations and 17B-7. Side yard and rear yard setbacks may be reduced to 10 feet if it adjoins an existing non-residential use in the waterfront, commercial, general business, light industrial, or 20 foot if it adjoins an existing non-residential use in the village community zoning district. Item B would be opaque screening shall be installed directly adjacent to the use between the facility and the adjoining property line. This screening may be existing vegetation if adequate. If adequate natural screening is not present or insufficient, vegetation shall be planted that achieves the purpose listed above. Privacy fencing may be utilized in lieu of vegetation. We also have a component that we put in the village community, section 2, in order to verify compliance with the special exception approval, the owner-operator shall supply the Department of Planning with the January 1 inventory of vehicles and boats stored on site. The inventory shall be supplied prior to or on March 1st after the inventory date. That would allow us to make sure that it's being used in a proper manner. And this was a definition that was introduced in 2022, just about a little over a year ago. With that, staff recommends approval of Ordinance Amendment 2023-04. Planning Commission voted 6-0 with 1 abstention, 2 absent, and 2 vacant to recommend approval of Ordinance Amendment 2023-04. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I'm going to turn it over to the board. I believe the applicant may be here to speak on their behalf. So, any questions the board has of me while I'm up here?
I did have a couple of questions. One, if privacy fencing is used and it deteriorates, how is it feasible that there would be maintenance required?
Whenever you place a condition, a zoning condition, that goes, it's almost like it's a restriction that goes with the property. You're able to enforce those conditions in the future because it was a condition of the property. If the fence no longer achieves the objective to screen the property and it starts falling down, that's technically a zoning violation. You can act on that and make them replace the fence. Or they could come back and amend the site plan to put in vegetation at any time, too. So you have several options.
The other question I had is, the Department of Planning gets an annual inventory of
The reason
assets
we
stored on the
did this
land?
is to assure that they're not storing heavy equipment. We would know what's being stored on the site.
Is that just an annual census?
It would be, yes, sir.
And I am curious whether that information is something that would be provided to the Commissioner of Revenue.
It certainly could be. Yes, sir.
Those are my questions. Other questions?
Couple questions. The privacy fence itself, is that going to be a solid fence, certain height? What is it?
A privacy fence has to obscure, it has to be opaque, meaning you can't see through it. It wouldn't be able to, you couldn't use a chain link fence, it's a privacy fence. Privacy fences are generally 6 to 8 feet tall. Yes, sir.
And going back to the storage act, I think somebody was reading it January 1, and that's going to be reported to the Commissioner of Revenue, or
It could be made available to them,
and
yes, sir.
who's going to be fined if you're housing something that's not supposed to be in it?
Well, if they're housing such as heavy equipment, that would be a zoning violation. This is intended to be for boat, RV, and camper storage. It's not to store tractor trailers and that type of thing.
So anything in it that's not reported, it goes back to the owner?
The owner would be responsible for anything that's not
Okay.
in line with the zoning ordinance.
So the
Yes, sir.
owner of the storage is going to be responsible for something that's in storage that is not reported?
They could be, yes, sir.
Okay. We have to make
There's a little bit of an honor system involved in this. You have to understand.
It's 2023 it was worse than that 20 years ago, I guess.
Yes, sir.
Where this stands right now, is it a 10 or 20-foot setback?
It depends on the zoning district, and it depends on the zoning district it abuts. So if it was an LDR zoning district, which would be all agricultural, we would default to the standard setback, which would be usually 35 feet for a conforming lot. If it abuts a waterfront commercial or light industrial or general business lot, they could reduce it down to, I believe it was 10 feet. Village Community is a mixed use. It has commercial and residential use. They would, I believe it was 20 feet for that. And they would still have to comply with, in that, if they reduce it to 10 feet, they still have to comply with the screening requirements, either way.
So where this property stands, then, if we are approving something that has a 10-foot or a 20-foot, or a 35, I don't know.
It would vary depending
We
on.
know we know what
Well-
type of properties border this.
Yes, sir. It'll be in the next application. We
Okay,
could discuss it a little bit more in that application. But to that point, this is a good example because their application has varied districts that border it.
I'm just curious what the dialogue was in the planning commission in reviewing this.
Our planning commission's been fairly favorable on this because I think the same discussions I've had with the board, the planning commission's had concerns too. We have limited availability of commercial properties. And it seems like this board and our planning commission has received a lot of applications that deal with some type of storage, whether it's, we seem to be the storage capital of the world. We would rather see McDonald's and restaurants and things like that in our business districts rather than somebody storing vehicles, which could be done anywhere for that matter. So the planning commission's very much, we received a lot of support from the planning commission on this. They've discussed it before. Some of our older members have, some of the old school guys are very much in support of this. So John England, for one, was very, very, very supportive of it, thought it was appropriate, so.
Any other questions for Dave? Is there a representative from the applicant who would like to address the board? Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, Chairman, members of the board. Wayne Savage with Beta Design Group. Obviously, I'm not Dave Eberline, who presented this application, but I'm the applicant for the next project, which is the special exception. So I think Dave covered everything pretty well. We're asking for, a zoning and text amendment to add boat and RV storage in the LDR district. It's obviously to support the next hearing case, which is the special exception. But other than that, I don't really have anything to add other than if you guys have any specific questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I'll open the floor for public comment, and we'll call on anybody who raised their hand. We'll give everybody an opportunity to speak. The rules are that each speaker will give your name and address for the record, and will be given one opportunity to speak. All comments or remarks must be addressed at the Board of Supervisors, not at the audience. And you will have 3 minutes to provide your input, unless you're representing a large group that is also here in person. So I'll open the floor for public comment. Would anybody like to address the board on this? Seeing none, I'll close public comment on this. And I'll entertain a motion. Okay.
I'll make the motion to approve ordinance amendment 2023-04.
I second it.
Motion by Don Harris, second by Bill Harris. Is there any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Bill Harris,
Yes.
Mr. Don Harris,
Yes.
Mr. Jesse,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Kimbrough.
Yes. Motion carries. All right. Next up, special exception 2023-03.
Yes. Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. This is the second half of that package, I guess you'd say. This is submitted by Bay Design Group on behalf of WC Land Company. The request is for approval of a special exception to establish a boat, RV, and camper storage yard in accord with Section 7-3.34, if the amendment request is approved, which it was, of the Middlesex County zoning ordinance. Property for which the special exception is being requested is zoned low-density rural and is situated along Burles Marina Road. It's further identified as tax map parcels 19220G, 19222, 19222F, and 19223 in the Saluda District. Just some site specifics. Again, the property's zone low-density rural. According to the concept plan, it looks like a total of about just under 6 acres, 5.89. Property for the most part is vacant. I believe there's a house on it that they're going to demo. Future land use map shows this area staying the same, which is agricultural conservation. We have varied uses around it. To the west is vacant and zoned LDR. North is commercial, and the east is commercial, which would be Bethpage Campground. In the south, there's a couple various uses. It appears to be a residential structure and some vacant properties. This is the current zoning map. All that lavender color is the Bethpage, which they, some of which was previously zoned and recently rezoned properties. And you can see the subject property pretty much in the magenta color. And this is the future land use map, which pretty much correlates with the current land use map. And this is an area, I think we're all familiar with this area. Bethpage is located to the east, northeast. This is the concept plan. This was submitted basically before some of the criteria was established for setbacks and whatnot. You'll notice that setback on that northern property line will have to be increased to accommodate, as will the eastern line. They'll have to be adjusted to, accommodate the setbacks that'll be required for that. You can see this almost constitutes a site plan. They have their BMP design for stormwater management. So this is a new use on a vacant piece of property, which means it will require a major site plan, and the Planning Commission will get a chance to review that. And this is the map showing the overall piece, parcels. Actually, there's two small stems that actually connect this with not only Burles Marina, but also Old Virginia Street. These are just some of the homes that are dotted along there. Some of their older homes. I'm not sure exactly. It's hard to tell where anything is, just to give a general idea of what's located on Burles Marina Road. I didn't see any flagging that it constituted the property lines.
Dave, quick question.
Yeah.
On the photo, go back one more.
Whoops, must be
Oh,
on the
right
wrong way.
there. That one vacant house, is that on the property we're discussing, or is that adjacent to the property we're
Let me
discussing?
go.
Right there.
That's what I'm not sure. I'm going to let the applicant, they surveyed the property, they can probably show us exactly which, one of these houses is going to be demoed. I'm not sure which one that would be. It's hard to tell. There's not a lot of occupation out there that tells us from the plan. So, do you have any other questions, Mr. Harris?
No, sir, I do not.
Oh, okay, sorry. Of course, we know the approval, requesting approval for a special exception to establish a boat, RV, and camper storage yard. We've gone through this, the special exception number 34 shall meet the following additional requirements. We've just gone through those with the ordinance amendment. that the concept plan doesn't address will have to be addressed prior to the site plan going to the planning commission. We have to, again, I'm going to reiterate that the concept plan that was provided before this criteria was set up. So the applicant wouldn't have known what this criteria was until it's been established here. So they're under the understanding that they know they have to go back and revise their concept plan to accommodate the ordinance. And this is basically taken from the ordinance that was just adopted. I'm not going to reread it. So based on the analysis above, the special exception request is in substantial conformance with the requirements of section 7-4, proposed 7-4.13, or it actually should be 34, and section 20-5B of the Middlesex County zoning ordinance. Staff recommendations are the special exception is contingent on approval of the ordinance amendment, which was just approved, and final approval is subject to major site plan approval and the criteria being established in those sections. Planning Commission voted 6-0 with 1 abstention, 2 absent, and 2 vacant spots to recommend approval of special exception 2023-03. And with that, if there's any questions the board has of me while I'm up here, I'll be glad to answer them.
I do have one.
Yes, sir.
Have you had any opposition that has contacted your office regarding this request?
No, sir. I received 2 calls. I received a call early on from a gentleman, but I think it was prior to the planning commission process, that actually his concern was he was trying to get a house demoed, and actually I connected him with Mr. Wills, who may be able to accommodate. It may work out as a good partnership because he's going to be there. If he's constructing a site, he could take the man's home out. So he was complaining more about the cost of getting a house demoed than he was Mr. Wills's project. So we may be able to solve. Sometimes you get to solve several problems. Sometimes. So, and I talked to Will, and I think they may be able to work something out. Yeah, good. And I also received one call from somebody that was an absentee owner. They lived in Maryland, and I talked to her, and she was really just trying to understand what was being done, and I sent her the plan, and she was very thankful that I sent it to her and seemed to be relieved that that's what was, after I explained it to her, she didn't have any real issue with the site. So that's all the public comment I got in-house, so.
Mr. Chairman, however you want to proceed with this, I'd like to hear from Mr. Wills. Has he had any complaints about this application as well?
Yes, sir. I'll step aside and let you bring him up.
Okay, well, we want to hear from the applicant next. Is Mr. Wills the applicant?
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay.
Well, I'm with WC Land Co.
Okay, good.
Myself and Hunter Copley, my
Gotcha. Okay. Please give us your overview and your request and answer any questions that
We
we may have.
we pursued this route because we think it's a good fit for the property. The land, the ground isn't perk, and where this lot would sit is back in the woods, so it's not really visible from the road. We haven't had any complaints or any issues in pursuing the land from anybody around us. And we started this, I'm guessing, over a year ago, a little more than a year ago. And we haven't had any issues or concerns. We're not trying to do anything that's going to be visible from the street. Being the fact that I live here in Middlesex, I have a concern about how this county looks from the highway. I mean, not just there, but I mean from here to Deltaville, and which I have a complaint about that in other parts of the county. And so, our intent is to create a spot. Prime example, when you go down through Virginia Street and you've got the putt-putt right there. Well, behind the putt-putt at Bethpage, you've got this new section of campgrounds right here. And then to the right-hand side it looks like a junkyard, nothing against a junkyard. But you've got boats, trailers, and all kinds of debris out up against the highway that you can see. And the intent for a storage lot like this one or anywhere in the county, it should be screened and kind of tucked away in places where it's not visible to everybody to see. So we think it's a good fit for the place, and we have not had any issue or complaints from anybody.
Questions for Mr. Will?
I've seen several of your projects, and I'm sure if this goes through, it'll be a top shelf project like all the rest of yours.
Thank you, sir. Really appreciate that.
I'm curious, I was curious what drives the demand. I don't know what the rules are for, I presume the demand is coming from the campground?
It's not just a campground. There's a lot of subdivisions that have restrictions of what you can keep in your driveway. Boats over a certain length, RVs, and all that kind of stuff. And not everybody can afford to put a 40 by 60 shop at their house or have the land to do a 40 by 60 shop. And so it's not just a campground. I mean, they're more seasonal, but there are multiple people who have issues where they live at, where they can't store the stuff in their own driveways, which, again, makes sense, but there's a rub to that. You know, what do you do with it, you know?
Gotcha. I'm grinning because I just saw a photograph where someone had taken their boat, put it in their garage, but it was too big for the garage, so they took foam board,
Right.
created a wall, and the trailer and the bow of the boat was sticking out, and it said, this is what you do when the HOA won't allow you to have a boat.
That's it. That's right. We're trying to, you know, help get away from that. So, you know.
Mr. Wills, I like what you were saying about cleaning up, because this is Middlesex, and I know, basically I know your family anyway, and I know what you know, for as cleaning up, making it look good, these boat storage and stuff like this. And, yeah, I think it's a wonderful idea. Because a lot of stuff is around with some of these boats that need to be cleaned up.
Yes, sir.
Might even be some grant money for some of them, but I leave that one alone.
Well, since we're on this topic, I do have one thing to bring up. Sorry, I'm up here. Example would be the Dollar General in Hartfield. You know, that is the trashiest looking place. We have just built an office down Wood Brothers Road behind Dollar General. We have a gravel yard back there as well. And the county transfer station is right there, which that's kept clean. And we're a construction company, and we keep our stuff. Actually, we've been improving that road, not trying to toot my own horn here, but that's the intent. And then you've got Dollar General right there at the intersection of 33 and Wood Brothers Road. And the amount of trash that is being blown from that store all over the place. And we have a 60-acre field back in the woods. There's talk about a solar farm going back there or whatever. But we will find Dollar General bags about 500 yards back in the woods there. And yet the transfer station, we've been there for 20-some years, and we've never had hardly any trash come from that place. And Dollar General's been there for 8 years maybe, and the amount of trash is ridiculous. The screening, like they have a dumpster behind the building. I don't think any trash actually makes it to that dumpster. It's all around it. But that's the issue I have, you know, with the county. I think, and I also want to change the speed limit of Hartfield too, because the amount of traffic coming in and out of M&M, Dano's parking lot, Dollar General, 7-Eleven, that's a 45-mile-an-hour zone. There's a lot of cars trying to pull out into that area. And I think the cars need to be going slower, you know, from that intersection to the bank, because there's been some issues. What VDOT's done by changing the lane has helped a lot. But I look at that Dollar General as a prime example of something we need to, in my opinion, that this county needs to get away from. We can enforce them to clean their stuff up. You go to the Dollar General in Matthews, it's spotless. That's a prime, you know, just night and day situation. But sorry, I didn't mean to go on a little rant, but there you go. That's what I got.
Well, we appreciate your attitude towards making the county look good.
It's important.
Any other questions for Mr. Will? Okay, thank you.
Thank y'all.
I'll open the floor for public comment on special exception 2023-03. Mr. Jackson.
Robert Jackson, 565 Burrell's Marina Road, Urbana, Virginia. My main concern about this project is screening. And from what I'm hearing, it's, the boats and the RVs and whatever else is gonna be there, it's gonna be off the main road, which is fine with me. But my main problem is screening. If it's gonna be screened where you can't see any of this, it's fine with me. But if I can drive down or ride down through Burrell's Marina Road and look over to my right-hand side and see trailers and RVs and boats, I don't wanna see that. We have enough problems down in Burrell's Marina Road with trailers that's not being lived in and have been lived in for 20, 25 years. But yet the county ordinance say, you know, we can't move these trailers, we can't do anything with them. When you got trees growing up in trailers. That's a problem on Burrell's Marina Road. We have a lot of stuff going on Burrell's Marina Road, and it seems like everything want to come in to Burrell's Marina Road. I can go some other way with this, but I'm not going that tonight. But like I'm saying before, screening is my main objective. That's all I got to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson. Other public comment about the special exception 2023-03? Seeing none, I'll close the public comment, and I will ask Mr. Wills if you would perhaps come back to address the concern that was expressed.
Yeah, our intent is to screen it so you can't see it when you're coming down Burrell's Marina Road. Kind of
No, you got to talk to us.
Okay. If you go back to the site plan, that does a good picture of what we're doing and where the property sits. And you're going to be coming down, you'd have to take a right into the entrance of the storage lot, and then it kind of comes in and curves around a little bit. And so, there you go. So the visibility is going to be through that narrow corridor where the road comes in. But then the actual storage lot is going to be behind that wooded section in the top left corner. And of course, everything across the front. Now, one thing that we could do is, if you'll see where the entry road is coming in from Burrell's Marina Road.
Up on the left.
Yep, there you go, right there. Those, yeah, no, you're fine. And those two existing shaded structures right there, right where your mouse is? Yes. So as those things get cleaned up and get cleaned up in there, more planting could be done in those, because those structures are in really poor condition. They'll be taken down. But those areas right there, more planting could be done and staggered in that area to kind of fill that gap. That way it's not a wide open, lane of grass looking in there. If that makes any sense at all. I could draw it better than I could explain it.
And that's something that would be revised into the
Site plan.
final site plan?
Correct, yes, sir.
Which will go to the planning commission for approval.
Yes, sir. But as for means of, I didn't mean to cut you off, but as for means of, visual, that will be the only area you'd be able to see it through.
Other questions? Thank you, Mr. Rhodes.
Yes, sir, thank you.
Any other comments, or is there a motion?
I'll make the motion to approve special exemption 2023-03.
I'll second it.
Motion by Mr. Don Harris, second by Mr. Jesse. Any other discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Don Harris.
Aye.
Mr. Jesse.
Aye.
Mr. Williams. Mr. Bill Harris.
Yes.
Mr. Kimbrough.
Yes. Motion carries. Thank you.
Yes, sir. This is my last application for the evening. This is special exception 2023-04, submitted by the Middlesex Moose Lodge. The request is for approval of a special exception to establish Lodge Hall in accord with Section 7-3.32 of the Middlesex County zoning ordinance. The property for which the special exception is being requested is zoned low-density rural and is situated along General Polar Highway, is further identified as tax map parcel 38-121, and it's in the Pine Top District. Just some site specifics. The property is currently vacant. You can see the property size is just a little bit over 11 acres. It's vacant. Comprehensive plan lists this as staying the same, which would be agricultural conservation. Surrounded land uses on the west, a little bit of residential possibly, and some commercial. There's a auto repair shop next to it. North is vacant. It's primarily forestry property. East is residential. There's one residential structure. And on the south side of General Polar Highway, there's a few residences that sit pretty far off the road right in that area. This is the parcel. It's just probably, I'd say, roughly a quarter of a mile past the YMCA. It's located next to Scott's Auto Repair Service. You can see that's the current zoning as it's listed. See this, all the adjoining properties are low-density rural. And that's an overview that shows basically how the property looks. You can see there's one little area looks like it's been cleared in the middle. And that's a plat with a sketch on it showing basically where they want to propose putting their lodge hall. It would be located a fair distance off the road towards the back of the property. These are a few pictures taken. This is Scott's Auto. I think most of us are familiar with that. We see it as we drive up and down the road. There's one residential structure that's located to the east of it. That would be that. And this is pretty much what the property looks like straight on. And there are some properties across the street. Of course, the request is for approval of a special exception to establish a lodge hall in accordance with that section 7-332. You have the staff report. I'm sure all of y'all have read it. I'm not going to go through all the criteria that was analyzed in the staff report. Staff feels based on the analysis noted in the staff report, the special exception request is in substantial conformance with the requirements of 7-4 and section 20-5B of the ordinance. With that, staff recommends approval of special exception 2023-04 with the following conditions. A major site plan will be required in conjunction with establishment of the use, and screening and buffering shall be in accordance with site plan requirements. Nothing special as far as screening or buffering has been proposed as part of that special exception criteria. I will note that the site plan approval process, it would be routed to all the various agencies. There's probably a pretty good chance this would have to go to DEQ, just like any other site for stormwater management. And of course, VDOT's going to analyze the entrance for safety and their access management standards. So there are a lot more process after this process in the event that the board would decide to approve it. So the Planning Commission again voted basically unanimously to approve or recommend approval of the special exception. So with that and my recommendation, we recommend that the board approve special exception 2023-04. With that, Mr. Chairman, I'm going to turn it over to you Any questions? Yes, sir, Mr. Harris. Go ahead.
Before you leave, we approved earlier the first ordinance amendment 2023-4. Just curious, why does this special exception carry the same number of 2023-4?
This is not an ordinance amendment. This is a special exception request. I believe the last one was 2023-03. Is that
Okay.
correct? That was a
Okay.
special exception.
Okay,
So the ordinance amendment, the numbers start for each different application. If it was a rezoning, you could have a rezoning, a special exception, a ordinance amendment, they could all have you could have them all on the same night and they all have the same number.
okay,
That's how it works. So,
great, thank you.
does that help?
Dave, yeah, I got one question. Do you
Yes.
think VDOT's going to require a deceleration lane?
That
There's a lot of
depend-
traffic comes through there. I'm just,
It depends on the trip generation. And I guess they're going to look at the number of members that they have, and I guess they'll have to apply trip generation based on the number of members. And if it constitutes, if they plug it through their access management, they have formulas for trip generation, and they have trip points, If you can have a commercial development with what they call a low-volume commercial entrance, that's basically a fancy gravel driveway. Those would be very low-use commercial uses. Or you can have something in between, or you can have something with deceleration lanes, everything else. That depends on trip generation. So that has to go through the major site plan process, and that's probably maybe even a bigger hurdle than this is, because it'll have to be routed to VDOT, DEQ, and so even if the board approves this tonight, it's got a lot more process to go through. Is that, any other questions?
Have you had any disapproval from anybody associated with this?
We had two speak opposed at the planning
Planning Commission?
commission meeting,
Okay,
both centered on traffic concerns, and I believe there may be some here tonight that speak on that point, so you would be able to hear their concerns as well. So I may have briefly detailed that in the staff report, I think, so just brushed over it.
Other questions for Dave? Okay, thank you, Dave. We'd love to hear from the applicant now. So Representative,
Good evening. Thank you. My name is Shannon Sears, and I am the administrator of the Middlesex Moose Lodge. Just to give you a brief introduction about what we are a private fraternal organization. Currently, we are located in Hartfield, in the Hartfield Village Shopping Center. We pride ourselves on our promotion of youth and aging individuals throughout the county as well as the country. This year alone, we are slated to give $200,000 to various charities, with about $100K staying right here in Middlesex County. Just today, I was lucky enough to be able to give $6,000 out to Compass Academy and Social Services to go directly to youth here. We are looking at this property. Our current location is becoming inadequate for what we use. The building is aging. We have significant septic possibility of problems in the future, as well as some parking concerns. We do not have enough parking on the property that we own to cover any sort of expansion. We explored that previously before going to look at land. We are not given enough parking from the owner of the shopping center. So we have been exploring other options. We are a private organization, again, here locally in the county. We do have operating hours that close well before any sort of noise ordinance, I believe is 11 o'clock for the county. Our doors shut at 9:30. In addition to that, we are private, so we are not a public, anybody can come in type of organization. I will be transparent. We do have open to the public days throughout the year. Typically, this year we were slated to have 2. One is Santa is coming to visit, so we are opening that up to children. And we also organized a First Responders Day to honor those volunteers that we have within our county, as well as law enforcement and other organizations. However, unfortunately, Mother Nature did not work with us, not one try, but 2 tries, so we were never able to do that this year. But we are private. Other than that, we stay within our confines of our members and qualified guests. As far as what we are doing here, we are looking at purchasing the land. We have spoken to the landowner, explained to him what we wanted to do. He has offered to hold it until we get this exception approval. We have been in preliminary conversations with VDOT, DEQ, as well as the Health Department. I've gotten to know Dave Kretz more than he probably wishes over the last few months, but we are looking to make this a safe entry and exit way. VDOT was very clear. We will be working with them to ensure that proper lighting, proper easement, and entrance is accessible and safe for all. So that's kind of my blurb. If anyone has any questions. We have talked to the neighbor, and he understands what we're doing. Currently, the driveway that is part of the easement is actually on the property that we're trying to purchase. However, in discussions with him, we will relocate the entrance to our facility. And so what we'll do is we will provide natural buffer to build that up so that he won't be inconvenienced at all whatsoever. The drive will just go to where he actually lives. Currently, it goes all the way to the cleared portion of the property.
Not really a question. I consider the Moose Lodge a valuable asset for Middlesex County. You guys do an awesome job with contributions to a variety of places in Middlesex County. Thank you for coming tonight, and thank you for what you do.
Thank you. We have a good time, and we have a great menu if anybody wants takeout. Just letting you know. Sloppy Joe tonight. I'm kind of mad I'm here. I'm just kidding. Anything else?
Thank you, Shannon.
Thanks.
I'll open the floor for public comment. Please raise your hand if you'd like to address the board. None?
My name is John Fahrenhold. I reside in Hartfield. I have nothing but good things to say about the Moose Lodge, as well as the property owner of this parcel that they're looking to purchase. However, I spoke in opposition to this site at the planning meeting, and the other person is out of town. That's Bill Wilhelm. He is the property owner adjacent as well. I'm an adjacent property owner to this site. It is a very low-level site. It is a lot of stormwater collects on this site and then transfers through multiple other properties down, all the way down, and hits the Wilton Creek and comes back under 33 and out to the Piankatank River. So this is a low-level site. I own this site at the back end on the east side is adjacent to my property, and it's wet. And so this is a problem that I have, is a stormwater runoff, and understanding that it doesn't impede anything if this project's approved. I also have a problem with it as I live a quarter of a mile down the road. I travel by this lot probably 20 times a day, one direction or another, to my businesses in Deltaville. And this is a heavily trafficked road, 55 miles an hour, a turn right here at this entrance to this location. There's a little bit of a veer right there. And, I can just see an accident waiting to happen here. It's dark. There are multiple residents on the other side of the street, the south side of the street. But the vacant land is on the north side of the street. So I see a real problem with this site. I think there are other sites in Hartfield that are for sale that might be better for the Moose Lodge and what they're looking to do. You know, they're looking at doubling the size of their current facility. If I remember correctly from our last meeting, they had 450 members currently. And if you're doubling the size of that, you would want to assume that we're going to 900 or greater. You know, so I can see a sizable amount of traffic that's going to be on this 55-mile-an-hour road, one way to turn in, one way to come out, you know, at up till 9:30 at night. And I just see this as a difficult site. It's a narrow, long piece of property, as you saw from the description. You know, it's not a rectangle where there are multiple places to come in and out. There's only one. There's a site that is for sale on Stampers Bay Road, on the corner of Stampers Bay Road and 33, where you can enter and exit from 33 or Stampers Bay Road. That is for sale. That's just an example, okay? So I do feel that this site is not the best site, not what the Moose Lodge folks want to do. I think it's great that they want to get bigger. I think it's great what they do in their donations to the county. I think it's fabulous. But this site, being a low-level site where all it does is collect water and it runs through the property, it runs adjacent, it runs all the way through my property and through the 3 lakes that I own all the way around. So, and, you know, if we're going in there and building up, we're going to be building up and diverting. This water's got to go somewhere. And I know that the DEQ will handle that and understand all the ramifications of that component. But I think it's real important that y'all consider the traffic pattern that this is going to affect on a 55-mile-an-hour road, which we all know everybody doesn't go 55. So that's all I have to say. I hope you guys make a wise decision. Thank you very much.
Thank you, John. Anybody else like to address the board? No other speakers? I'll close the public hearing. And I'll open the floor for discussion. And I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion to approve special exemption 2023-04.
I second it.
Motion by Don Harris, second by Mr. Williams. Discussion? I have a couple of comments. I think the final approval of the site plan, from what Mr. Fahrenholt has described, is going to be a challenge with DEQ and with VDOT. I believe that VDOT has a lot better judgment on how to safely enter and exit a property than I do. And so my inclination is not to preempt VDOT at their job, nor DEQ. It sounds, in fact, like, maybe this is wishful thinking, but if there's a problem with the drainage from the low-lying land now, and the drainage would have to be addressed in order to have a final site plan approval, and David, I'd like to have your input on this, perhaps the problem will be mitigated by this project because DEQ is not going to allow the drainage to get worse. Is that accurate?
You're going to have to maintain the same outfall, basically, that you have now. If you're, allowing X number of CFS out, you have to, you can't go over that. You're basically going to have to mitigate your own drainage. So You know, to a certain frequency storm, I mean, there's always,
Right.
you know, we have events that exceed that, but you have to design to a certain, you know, standard
Hardscaping.
storm.
With hardscaping, there would need to be additional runoff containment required.
Yeah, there's going to be stormwater management requirements too. Yeah, absolutely. It'll have to be, you'll have to, some type of stormwater BMP that'll have to be constructed.
And my other comment is, if there are more suitable properties, certainly I would invite anybody to counsel the Moose on those alternative properties to see if they were better. But anyway, personally, I'm not, I see that there's a long road ahead to get a final site plan that meets VDOT and DEQ requirements, but I'm not going to preempt that with my own judgment.
Right, and I believe the Moose has engaged an engineer, so they're in talks with an engineer. I believe the engineer's made some preliminary looks at the property and feels that they can address the issues, whatever issues there are. So if they didn't have that, you know, that nod from their engineer, they probably wouldn't be going forward on the property, so.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Any other questions for you? Comments?
I would just like to say, Mr. Chairman, they have 11 acres to work with, so, you know, there's enough property there to, get in whatever goes on with the runoff and everything.
But, you know, I look at this as someone come to you with investment and they take the responsibility to make it right. And all we got to do is give them an opportunity. The nonprofit, and they're going to help the community. I'm looking at the figures and the numbers. That's what I'm doing. Make it plain to you all. And the way I look at it, you are taking a risk. Do your homework. If you don't do your homework, you'll fail. It don't seem like it's a problem with the landowner, because if it was, it should have said directly, I don't want you buying it. I don't want you to have it. So if they didn't come out directly, I don't see nothing wrong with y'all bringing something to the community. I think the community needs y'all with the same shit you all do. And that's how I feel about it. Thank you all.
Any other discussion? May we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Jesse,
Aye.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Bill Harris,
Yes.
Mr. Don Harris,
Yes.
Mr. Kimbrough.
Yes. Motion carries. Thank you. All right. Heather, save best for last.
Yes, sir. With that, could I ask Matt or Anne Marie to pull up, in our packet is a depiction of the proposed, of the survey. I think it's on page 135. It should be in color. Should be one more. No, there it is, right there. There you go. Thank you. So I'm going to also ask the county administrator to assist as well. So at his request, and as a request from Dr. Sykes, who's present with Sun Tribe tonight, it was brought to the county administrator's attention that an easement was needed from Sun Tribe, which is the solar company that installed the solar panels behind the schools down at Locust Hill, behind the middle school and elementary school. And so I was asked to review the deed of easement language, which I did so, and negotiated language that you see in your packet that I was comfortable with, and I appreciate Sun Tribe and working with that. They were very amenable to all of my requests, and I appreciate that. But the long of the short of it is back in 28, is there anything you wanted to add to that?
No.
That was very dramatic. And I'm going to let Sun Tribe speak on this, but the gist of it is in 2018, when this project was done, there was an omission. This was missed. That this was what you're seeing on your screens where the red line is. mistakenly, that was thought that was school's property, and it kind of slipped through. And so the project moved forward, and we didn't formalize an easement. So where the red line is just a depiction, it's not a survey accurate, of where Sun Tribe's electrical line is. And so you can see it going across the county's property there. It runs underneath the basketball court. And so with that, gentlemen, the Code of Virginia requires a public hearing before you can lease county-owned property. And Sun Tribe is asking you for a utility easement across this parcel where its electrical line is located. It's non-exclusive, and it is for 30 years, but in essence, it's going to be permanent for so long as they need that electrical line there. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions, but it might be, and I am, it may be helpful, though, for Sun Tribe to give their comments, but I will answer questions if you have any for me first, if you prefer.
I got a question.
Yes, sir.
I just want to know.
Sure.
It's already been done, right?
Yes, sir, it was done in
All right,
2018.
what happens if we say, no, we're not going to give you the easement? I
I'm,
want to know what's going to happen.
so someone draws straws and has to dig it up, and I've already said nose goes, no. I shouldn't make light. But no, I mean, if the board doesn't approve the easement, Sun Tribe will have to relocate.
I was just
no,
curious.
no,
you know,
absolutely.
I'm not, I just want to know.
Oh, yes, sir.
Okay, all right.
Oh, so what I heard was a volunteer to dig it up.
All right.
I do have one. The solar farm, that's not on school or county property, correct? It is on school property, is that right? Okay. I thought it was, I just wanted to clear that up.
Please.
Sun Tribe, if you'll join us. Taylor?
Good evening. Hi, Taylor Brown, Sun Tribe Solar, based here in Virginia. First, want to thank the board for hearing our request this evening and other staff members who have helped thus far. Heather did a great job. Background, so I'll keep it short. 2017, we partnered with Middlesex County Schools to develop and build solar array that's just to the east of Philpott Road, outside of this picture, providing clean power to both the elementary school and the middle school. I do want to give a shout out to the teachers over the years. The system has been operational since 2018. Many teachers have integrated solar curriculum into their classrooms, providing a really cool hands-on and unique experience for many of their students over the years. So in 2017, we signed the site lease. Sun Tribe, inadvertently assumed that all 3 parcels were owned by the school board. It came to our attention that this middle parcel is owned by the county, and to ensure that the project has proper site control and real estate access, we brought forward a request for this easement here. Just for clarity's sake, the conduit that is in the ground that runs along that red dotted line that you see there brings the power from the solar array to the middle school. We've never had to work on that conduit. We have no intentions to ever working on that conduit. It's been passively operational for the last little over 5 years. So happy to answer any questions that you might have, and thank you for hearing us out.
How long are the solar panels? What's the life expectancy of the solar panels?
Yeah, 35 years is kind of the industry norm. We see some finance groups saying 40 years. They don't die, so to speak. They just degrade year over year. So technically, they could last 50 years. The output that you get
Their
from them,
efficiency would be.
the efficiency, exactly, right? So it just becomes a cost-benefit analysis of recycling those and putting new ones on at some
So
point.
industry-wide, what percentage do they let them decrease to before they start replacing them?
We're seeing about 40 years in the financial models right now. That's like kind of where the break point
So in
is.
40 years, they're 50% efficient, 40%
80,
efficient?
80%. 80% after 40, yep.
You said, when you first opened up, you said something about leasing. What are you leasing?
Yeah, we have a site lease that established site control, for where the array is, and then the routes of the underground conduit to get to the schools. And so that was the original site lease that we executed.
And what y'all paying for that?
So it's all baked into the power purchase agreement. So we were selling power to the schools. It's been a while. I haven't looked at the numbers recently, but it was a significant discount to what they were paying to Dominion. So it was a net savings. I think it was like $60,000 a year in savings in the beginning.
A few minutes ago, you just said that the pound life expectancy decreases over a period of time. And since that time haven't got here yet, you don't know how much it's going to decrease. And is the contract set up so that even at the cost that we pay SunTribe, am I right to pay SunTribe? That price could easily increase based on the pounds decreasing.
So the school only pays for the power that they receive. There's a meter, just like Dominion has a meter on the side of the building. So even though the panels might decrease in efficiency, the array will output less, but the school only pays for what it outputs.
Are you saying that the price that the school is paying you all now per kilowatt is not going to change?
So historically, it has not changed.
But you didn't say that it's in writing that it's not going to change.
That was in the PPA. Yeah, when they first signed.
But you're not sure.
No, I'm sure.
You sure that the price that the schools are paying per kilowatt, that it's going to gradually increase over a period of time?
No, sir. When they first signed the PPA, it was a flat rate per kilowatt hour, and it wasn't
Never going to be an
changed.
increase.
That's correct.
How is that? Is written like that? It's never going to be an increase.
Oh, Mr. Williams, I'm not privy to that.
We don't know that part.
I haven't
All right.
seen that
And
contract.
my question is then, how much per kilowatt? And y'all open it up because somebody threw it in a $360,000 profit that you're going to save the schools since they started in 2018. Now it's 2023. That's 5 years. That's about 300. So we're pretty close. But I just wondering, because I always want to know this answer. I always want to know how much the schools was paying for electricity. Because if you tell me that they're saving money, and most of us will say, y'all selling to us cheaper, so what? And a blind man can learn how to live too, but that don't tell me anything. That just tell me it's a sale pitch that I can buy it cheaper. And then bang, you got it. It's so many, for this easement, it's 20 feet, 20 feet of easement, I guess all of it. I don't know who cut the grass, but I took that back. You got 20, I guess y'all ain't paying nobody on that. But what I'm saying here is that how can you figure all these things up? How much the school is paying? Do you know how much the elementary is paying for?
No.
I want to see hard money. If I go to the constituents and I want to see how much was the light bill on the elementary school, how much it was on the middle school, and did it increase? How does you receive the money back to the schools? Where does the money go? I mean, is the discount price built in? And if it is, that's just a cost. Then if we deal costs from the taxpayers' part, we should be able to understand this stuff very simply. And it seems like nobody's paying attention to it. I even noticed the way you stand with both hands in your pocket. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But we don't do that no more, So I'm looking at that, you seem pretty relaxed, and I'm just asking you questions, I'm just trying to get some answer, man. I think I've already mentioned it to the sites, that, Dr. Sites, that, I like to know cost. So when I'm talking to somebody, I can look at them pounds and say, hey, that is saving Middlesex County X number of dollars a month. That's a good deal.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not crazy about the deal the way it was written. I'm going to tell you that right now, okay? Just to be straight up. I'm not that crazy about the whole thing, but it do save us money. But now I want to know, to support what the decision that was made on the savings fund. SunTribe is saving us money.
Yeah, I mean, happy to follow up with
She know
That's
the
what I
answer
was,
to it.
and you know that Karen Murray can give you that down to the penny.
That is true.
Because we have this conversation almost every month, but in all seriousness, she can give you that. And, the conversation we had is that we can buy it cheaper from SunTribe than we were at Dominion, and that's still the case.
Right.
But we can give you the exact. Dollars there.
Tracy, and what I'm saying is that they told us $360,000 that we could save. You told us that it's approximately 60, you said $60,000 a year, did I get that right?
I'm pulling that from my
You
memory,
are
but it's somewhere in that.
$60,000 a
it's
year
somewhere
on
in that zip code.
electricity.
Right.
And it may think by changing the lights, I might change my mind on it because all the electricity we buy from you all, we buy from Virginia Power. Where do we buy it from?
It's a mix. You get some from SunTribe and some from Dominion.
Okay.
Do you have any leftover power that you sell back from that site?
We don't. Yeah, it's all getting purchased by the school board.
What you said?
Yeah, all the power from this array is feeding 100% to the schools.
That's how it was designed, is my understanding, and Taylor can certainly speak to it because I wasn't in this
You know the
position,
thing
but
about-
that it was built specifically to power the schools, not as an extra there.
They just built and they just gave it to the schools and they don't make no money off it.
No, we pay for it.
No, I'm talking about some tribe now. How much them pounds cost we got sitting on the school? Got any idea?
I don't know the
Oh, they
number
sent you up here blind, didn't they?
off the top of my head. But what I can say narratively on Karen Murray, yeah, she has withheld multiple payments because she saw a discrepancy in the numbers on the invoices. So she's looking at the numbers. I can assure you of that. So you got a good one over there.
How do y'all make money off the deal then?
The easiest way to think about it is commercial real estate. So we bring all the capital up front to build the building, and then we lease the space to tenants. In our case, we're not leasing space, we're just selling the electricity that it generates over the life of the asset, about 35 years. That's the easiest way to think about it.
Did y'all change the length of the contract this time? When you came back, was it 20 years at first?
25, and then the
Now you're asking for 30.
Right, yeah, which is a standard length of term, 25, 30, 35,
And so
sometimes.
what you're asking me is, I don't know about the other four. It was 20 years, 25 years. Now you're coming back and want 30 years. So now in the money, we just gonna keep on paying the same money. This is, to me, it's crazy. Because if you want more time, then I want a better deal. Okay, because that's what I look at. And wouldn't it came out based on a mistake? See, sometimes we are blessed by a mistake. Okay? So, and what I'm saying now might not mean anything to some of you at all, but it means a lot to me. Because I believe a deal yesterday, a good deal yesterday is a good deal today. But also a bad deal yesterday will show up today. And all I'm saying, if you want to change the years that y'all want this family in, and we got the same old deal, I just don't quite get it. I'll be honest. I just don't get that. And I meant to call Karen to tighten it up. But see, we're not buying it from Karen, we're buying it from you, so your figures would be better than Karen. Y'all go my Karen figures? See, I'm not picking.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, I'm buying it from you, okay? I'm doing, scratching my thing, and I'm just use this common sense. Reggie, you scratch up, and you tell me, I'm gonna tell you what you owe. To me, I had the debate one time, trust and honesty. Honesty. I like honesty because honesty shows everything. Trust that you go ahead and do what you want to do, and I trust you to do it. So, and I'm not picking on you because the easement is kind of easy, but I'm not going to agree on more, myself, I'm not going to vote to go past the time that was started minus the 8 years because it started in 2018. So 5 years is gone based on a 20-year contract. That don't leave them many years unless it's 30. I don't get that unless something's renegotiated so we can get a better deal. And I know we didn't come here tonight for that. We just come to based on a mistake, but sometimes a mistake is made because we're in a hurry to do it. Now, when Mr. Gress was here, I think that was the one before you, right?
Yes.
And me and him had the same conversation before y'all signed. And I asked him the question. I said, what we gonna save? How you know we gonna save? Do you know these? Well, we gonna save here because of blah, blah, blah. I said, yeah. I said, but you're not saying. I said, you got a bad deal because you didn't negotiate. I said, you didn't do it. Now we got Suncast coming in based on a mistake. It's a mistake. because you want to rush through the deal, so you made a mistake with the property. You got a lease that we don't understand. We even got, and let me go a little further, we even got a battery storage now that we kind of like hung out on the deal because it came through. Everybody liked it, was too good to be true. And I don't want you to feel I'm picking on you, because I'm not. I'm just saying that I like to know what we're getting, because I was kind of proud. I tell people, hey, we got the solar panels here, and it's saving us a whole lot of money. And it come find out, hey, I was wrong as hell. It's saving us money, but is it really saving us money? I don't know. Right now we're saying 300. If the rest of us on the board read was $316,000 that we had saved. Am I right, Ms.?
Right.
300 that we had saved in approximately a 4-year period, and that's a good savings. But where's the money here? I don't know. I'll be honest. I don't know where it's coming from. And the pandemic been about 2.5 years, so I ain't really had a chance to get it. But I talked to before you on. He got a little mixed up when I was talking to him, because I wanted to see the savings. Because I would love to see all the schools go on solar. You got what I'm saying?
They are. Most of our schools are, yeah.
So all of a sudden, I don't want to get far-fetched off what we got. This just my way of thinking. I can't accept going from 20 years to 30 years, all right, based on your mistake. Because y'all made a mistake. We didn't make it, the county didn't make it. And that's how I see it. And some of us might see it different. Some of us going to tell you, well, we're getting it cheaper. Well, yes, we're getting it cheaper. I guess we're getting it cheaper. I don't know that neither. And so what I'm saying, and I'm not picking on you, sir. I'm not picking on you now. I've been looking at this thing for 4.5 years when I first asked the question. I first asked the question 4 years before I got on the board, when I was talking to the superintendent before that. And I asked him how you know you got a good deal. And that question was never answered to me satisfying. Now, I finally found out, because I thought that we was using electricity and we was storing it somewhere, and we was pulling it back at no cost to us. I was dumb on that deal. I got to admit, I was dumb on that deal. Should have knew better, because I had hope in everything that we did was good when I first got elected to the board. Now, transparency is 100%, understanding is 100%, knowing how things work is great. Coming to us, how you found this tonight got interesting. How did we find that you made a mistake? From my thing, we've probably found it how you made a mistake because we were going to do the parking lot, right?
Yes, that's how we found
See,
it.
that's the only way we
Yeah.
found it. That's we wouldn't have this
Yeah.
conversation tonight. Of course, I don't agree with the parking lot neither, so you hear nothing about that. So I just will be straightly honest with you, because I look at what is, and I'm not going to get into that, because I'm just one vote out of 5. And I don't pull no favors on nobody. We had that conversation tonight, said we can talk, but I'm going to give you the best, my opinion that it is. You don't change my mind because you are what you are. And I appreciate you coming down tonight. Now, let me stand with that coat on. That just about get me. That just about get me. And all I want to know,
I appreciate
all I want to know, man, is we want a better deal. But I can't negotiate. I'm sorry I said that.
I think you're taking up for the county. You're doing good.
Because it
I
ain't
do
the
have a
county, it's the
question
school.
as well.
Go ahead. I'm finished.
So that I understand this, your company was on the assumption that all the property was owned by the same entity, and that you ran your conduit under that, I'm assuming that, correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
And so there never was any mention of going to Virginia Powers right away, which is on across the street, and then jacking boring in down there versus coming across the property.
The plan was always to run this route here.
And if this has to be changed, is there any cost to the school system?
Technically, no. It would be an owner-operator cost.
Where that complex there is pride in, one of the pride and joy in Middlesex County, whole school system is set up there.
Yeah. And I was looking at the plans before coming down here just to refresh myself, and it is bored. We did bore as deep as the boring machine could go. It was not trenched, it was bored. So we believe that some of the deepest parts are over 20 feet deep. So even if you did need to develop that land, we could do a utility survey and see how deep it was. You could probably build like another basketball court, no problem, right there. I'm just
Yeah,
speaking
but we don't want to put any
generally.
restrictions up there
But, yeah.
on our property there.
Yeah.
That was one of my questions. So the deepness of the wires that are already currently there and being used, and particularly on the red dotted line, you feel is somewhere around 20 feet? Is that what I'm hearing?
That's correct.
Okay. And there was a mention of where it comes across to the area that's a proposed parking area. My understanding is, and y'all can educate me if need be, my understanding is there is going to have to be some re-engineering or changes on Sun Tribe's part for the parking lot to be added where it's currently being looked at, correct?
Yeah.
And that's at Sun Tribe's cost,
Yeah,
correct?
that's right.
Okay. All right, the last question I got is on the term of agreement, and our county attorney may need to chime in on this. Is it not possible, since there wasn't an easement there, and we're talking about from the inception of a 2018 timeframe, correct? Why would we not, going along with Reggie's question, why would we not, I guess we're not able to backdate it to a 2018. And think about that for a minute. And the original was a 25-year lease. Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah, and I think important point of clarification is that the renewal of the PPA to the 30 years was what was precipitated by the rerouting of the line for the parking lot. So that was the impetus behind essentially renewing for 30 years, was that to unlock the ability to reroute that line around the parking lot. So we do need it from 30 years from today forward.
So I think that goes back to what Reggie was saying. If we would approve it, so you don't have to move it, what's in it for the county?
So, I mean, one is just, I think, a strong partnership that Sun Tribe and the school board have been in since 2018, and the savings that the schools have harvested over that time is fairly material. Fully acknowledging that this was an oversight on our part. So, I mean, really, it's a good faith, request. We've tried to be a really good partner and kind of incorporating a lot of curriculum advancement for a lot of the teachers at both the schools.
And I would
Yeah.
add the projected savings for that 30-year renewal that we just did is projected to be about a $2 million savings. And so that does come back to the county because you're the one that funds 63% of our budget. So if you look at it that way and what the savings is, I mean, there's not an additional tax break or anything like that that comes to anybody, or I think Sun Tribe's not paying additional taxes to the county. If that's something that, what are you getting out of Sun Tribe on the county side of it? In addition to the partnership that we have that the schools have with Sun Tribe, which has been very positive, not just in the reduced cost and the greener energy that we're using, but in how our teachers, as Taylor pointed out, how our teachers and kids have used it. But we're looking at from here forward a $2 million savings in utility costs, which the county pays for.
Ms. Stice said a few seconds ago that, what are y'all paying the county? You're just taking stuff from us and we paying you.
We produce the power.
And we pay
And
you.
you pay for the power, yeah.
And the extra power that we reproduce, y'all get that.
Sorry, come
So
again?
the extra power from the solar panels, you all get that because you can sell it to somewhere else. I mean, that's obvious.
With you, only the schools, it's all the power is just for the schools.
So y'all, we are using,
You're using 100% of the power. Yeah.
The solar field was built just to accommodate the schools. It wasn't built to, you can correct me if I'm wrong, it wasn't built to generate other power. It was built specifically, the size was determined by the needs of the elementary and the middle, because that one field feeds both of those schools.
oh, see, also at the same time, if you took cloudy weather for a little length of time, then the pounds are not going to produce enough electricity, then we got to pay another price for somebody else. That'll show up in the power bill itself, you know, and what we're paying. And if we were paying you 100%, I could see the savings that we are talking about. So I don't really want to get into numbers because we don't have a battery storage that the schools can have. See, my thing is like this year. When I talked about it 5 years ago, and they want to put it in, and I asked whoever was the superintendent there, how come we don't have a battery storage that we can actually store our electricity so we can really produce and save the county money? See, it's not set up like that, okay? It's not. Ours is set up for a price, and I'm not picking on you because you're here tonight. We are paying a price, and if they don't produce what we have, we're going to have to pay another price to somewhere if y'all don't have electricity because the pounds don't produce it, they don't produce it. We don't have that information, and being on the board, we don't see it, and that just gave me an opportunity that I wait 3.5, maybe 4 years just to ask you. I'm not picking, I'm waiting. You know, how we going to handle it because I was trying to get a question on how it works, what is our savings. I'm thinking about the taxpayers, if I'm thinking about it, I'm thinking about the elderly and the poor, and I like to see exactly what we are saying, and I'm not riled up. I know what you're talking about. I know about the lines in the ground. I know that it's a small thing, but don't sell me short when some of us are saying that, hey, we're saving money. We save money. We maximize our savings. That's the position what we are in. And we want to allow, not to say because you want superintendent, we want to allow this, being on the board, to think about a battery storage that we could be turning around and selling electricity, even with SunTribe, you know, and who you work with. Things have changed in 5 years. It has changed. And so what I'm saying here is we had an original contract. Now you want to go to another 10 years. And is in the 10 years was more than 10 because 2008, I thought it was 20. You said it was 25.
Right, yeah, the original was 25, yeah.
The original was 25? You don't know. So you're saying I thought it was 20. All right, may have checked that one. Anyway, why should, it wasn't our fault. It wasn't our fault. Why you want to get 10 more years? Because you made a mistake and didn't check it out.
So Mr. Williams, the school board's already signed that. I mean, that agreement's already done, signed, and in place. That was passed at a school board meeting, and it was reviewed by our attorneys for it. I think we're happy to answer questions about it, but if it's a question of if we're signing or somebody signing an agreement, we already have a 30-year agreement.
Okay.
With SunTribe.
What do you all want us to do
I think I just
tonight?
wanted to
I mean,
clarify. An easement.
You want
Just
an
grant the easement.
to
Yes,
complete
sir.
your contract, not
Just-
in a change.
Yeah,
Not
just-
to change and give any more years.
Correct.
You just want an
correct.
easement to finish up the time of the original contract.
Well, it would go from this point forward, the easement, which I think is what Mrs. Lewis said. That it's a 30-year easement. We have a 30-year agreement with SunTribe, the school board does.
5 already gone.
No, it's a new one. We signed a new one. That's what we said. We just signed a new one.
If the solar company had decided on their own that this was on the wrong property and they wanted to move it on the other side of the road and come down Dominion's right away there, would we be having this conversation?
If the line weren't there, no.
Thank you.
All right, I got a question. And what I'm looking at now, I understand there was a mistake made. This all come from dealing with the parking lot, right? All right, my question is, if you pay for that parking lot, we give you the right of way. I'm just negotiating that.
Well, remember that a grant is paying for that parking lot.
Oh, okay, all right.
The county is not.
Trying to.
No, I agree with
Get
you.
something
I
out the
agree,
deal
which I'm
here.
surprised Mr. Williams didn't bring that up, because
No,
he thinks
I'm
about,
not finished.
he thinks about that stuff. Remember that a grant is paying for I can't
Okay.
wait for this parking lot to be
Okay,
done.
all right, okay.
I will tell you.
Okay, I'm clear on that. Okay, I was just trying to negotiate, do some negotiation. All right, okay.
I just still
clear
got
on that
something else to say. You know, land is precious. And see, seems like nobody remember, and I'm gonna change this, I'm gonna talk a little bit here, I ain't gonna hurry tonight, I ain't gonna wait tomorrow. So I'm just take a
I'm
few
gonna get
minutes.
the
Lord.
3-minute timer out here. Right
Okay, that'd be good. See, because from my understanding, the parking lot was in front of the school. And for some reason or another, it got trashed. See,
It won't accommodate enough space that we need. The lot, and if it were to be in front of the school, like behind the bus loop, in front of the bus
don't go
loop.
there no more.
Yeah, so we're building, I think it's 130 space lot in that field, which is already being used as a parking lot. I think Mr. Don Harris could attest to that and how it's used as a parking lot anyway for the sports complex.
They don't use,
That field.
Okay, I'm
That's what,
I'm
yeah.
gonna just give up on
That
it.
field gets
'cause
used as a parking lot. so.
I'm gonna give up on it because, I feel that land is precious, and anything we use, we can end up tearing that parking lot up. We putting all our emphasis on the parking lot, and we made mistakes evidently along the way, and Sun tried. I don't have anything else.
Okay. I think we've certainly discussed this project enough that I would like to call for a motion for Resolution 2020.
You want public comment, please, for the public hearing.
Oh, got to open for
Yes, sir.
public comment. Okay. And public comment should be confined to the granting of this easement. I'll open the floor. Anybody like to address the board? Seeing none, I'll close the public comment period. And I will entertain a motion for Resolution R 2023-013.
So moved.
I'll second it.
Motion by Mr. Don Harris, second by Mr. Jesse. Any further quick discussion about this?
Yeah, very quickly, and our county attorney, Ms. Lewis, you're okay with the language of the deed, et cetera?
Yes, sir, thank you. If I may.
You may.
Yes, I am. So one thing I wanted to point out, you asked me a question, Mr. Harris. I don't think, yes, we could go back to 2018, we could make this retroactive. I don't think that that's necessary. I think that starting from now, because we weren't aware of it until then, we could do that, but I think it's perfect, it is legal to today grant the easement, starting today. But number two, I want to just point out to you that in this deed of easement, utility easement, I use the same language that we used for our water system, the water authority system, and that basically we couldn't go out and start doing, drilling into the ground. There are some restrictions where that red dotted line is. In short, we can't use the easement area in a way that would purposely interfere with their electrical line. And if we wanted to build, say, another basketball court over that or a pickleball court, we would reach out to Sun Tribe to notify them of the project that they would want to review as far as how deep everything's going to go. And I put language that says they can't unreasonably withhold the approval. That is very standard utility language. So I want to make that clear, though, that there is a restriction here. I can't go out with the backhoe and just start digging up to see if I can find something. Yes, sir.
It says standard utility easement language.
Yes, sir.
Is there anything that is different from that anyone else uses easement?
Yes, so they actually asked for it to be exclusive, and I asked for it to be non-exclusive for the very reason that we have learned with broadband that sometimes, I was thinking of broadband deals that we've had in the past where we've utilized county property. So it's a non-exclusive easement, we're the grantor. I did put in language they can't assign it or sublease it without letting us know. But I can. We can, because we're the owners of the property. Mhm. And it's a 20-foot, so I wanted to let y'all know, because I know there was some discussion about development and utilization of that property. There is some restriction.
Great. Also, we going from, it was 25, from 20 years left to 30 years. And what we say the reason that was?
My understanding, so I was listening to the same discussion you were. My understanding is that the original contract, for lack of a better word, between Sun Tribe and the schools was 25 years. They have recently renegotiated, and now they have a new contract that's going to go for 30 years. And so Sun Tribe asked for this utility easement to be 30 years. I'm not privy to those documents. I'm just repeating what I heard Dr. Sykes and Taylor represent to you tonight. So that's why Sun Tribe's asked you for a 30-year utility easement. So at the end of 30 years from today, maybe that Sun Tribe doesn't need the easement anymore and they remove their electrical line. Maybe they do. I don't know. But they're asking you for 30 years to utilize this area.
To essentially unlock funds to reroute the medium voltage line to the parking lot.
So we increased the contract by 5 years, but compensate the monetary receivers. So we're paying for it.
I mean, more or less, through over the 30-year term, yeah.
I guess my only addition to the discussion is, if you tell, first of all, if anybody thinks that Dominion Energy is going to be reducing or holding steady its electrical rates over the next 25 to 30 years, I'd like you to please advise me about that. If I have a locked-in rate that's a discount to Dominion's rate, and I have it for 20 years, it's worth a lot to me to extend that to 30 years, because in 20 years, I don't want to have my children or grandchildren come to me and say, hey, Dad, you know, we had this $60,000 a year discount from the solar field, and why did you get rid of that 10 years ago? We could have had it for another 10 years. So, you know, that's just my thoughts about this extension. I think that it's a benefit, and anyway, if there's no more discussion, I'm going to call for a roll call, please.
Mr. Williams?
No.
Mr. Bill Harris?
No.
Mr. Don Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Jesse?
Yes.
Mr. Kimbrough?
Yes. Motion carries. That concludes our business this evening.